What's up, guys? It's Tsmmaa here, back with part 2 of the Set 5 guide for dummies. This time we have the Classes Edition, presented with yours truly, Mr. Cottontail.
So guys, Cottontail here. So this time we're going to talk about classes, what's new and what's old. Look forward to it.
Cool, let's go straight into the first class. Ooh, we got a new one here. Assassins. So the innate passive Assassins is at the start of combat. Assassins leap to the enemy backline. Assassins' abilities can critically strike, and they gain bonus critical strike chance and bonus critical chance strike damage. So TLDR, they are assassins. Some tips we have is if the champions and the assassins are over abuse. What do you think, Cotton? Looking at Viego, Diana specifically being 4 and 5 costs.
So yeah, the assassin champions here we have are Diana, Karina, LeBlanc, Kha'Zix, Nocturne, and Viego. Having an assassin legendary is always going to be really scary to balance. You'll either be really strong or really weak. Like Kane, except Kane was even considered an assassin, but I mean, yeah, he was an assassin. He was just a shade though. I think Viego might be a balancing nightmare because not only does he have assassin, but he has a lot of strong traits to go with him. Other than that, assassins are back, baby. You'll never get rid of them. You always have to position really good against them. So yeah.
Yeah, they will be our premier damage for the backline. Rangers.
So here we have Rangers. All Rangers gain attack speed for 2 seconds every 4 seconds. They're basically, from previous sets, they're the hunters, the gunslingers, maybe even duelists. The Ranger champs are Ashe, Varus, Aphelios, Vayne, Kindred. I think this is really interesting. I always love Rangers. A lot of consistent DPS. They're very reliable. There could be very good. They're very good hyper carries. It's important to have a good frontline for them. It's important to position well against CC, against assassins. They're either my favorite, most consistent 80 damage units in TFT.
Yeah, I think if you really want to break it down even further, Vayne is a 1 cost, Varus 2 costs, and the Ashe Aphelios combo that I mentioned in last video, if you didn't check it out now. It will provide the Ashe being a Verdant will provide a QSS debuff for any of the Rangers. So I think Ashe with any of these Rangers will be a very scary duo. And also having that 5 cost Kindred as a Ranger will probably be very exciting as a late game comp, not to be slept on. So talking about late game comps, we bring the earliest comp here, the Brawlers. Brawlers gain additional maximum health. Yes, a very hard class to understand. The TLDR is they get a lot of health. Some tips are you want to run these early game as raw HP will be a very good stat, especially in a scaling meta. One thing to notice is that Volibear will be a 5 cost, while the other ones are relatively cheap, 1, 1, 2, and 3. Which brawler stands out the most to you, Cotton?
Definitely Volibear because he's a Revenant, he's a legendary unit. He looks very scary, he's very strong. Also, Gragas is the new champion that we haven't seen in TFT yet. I think he's really funny. I like Gragas in general. But also Set, he's a brawler, he's also Dragonic. He's gonna fit in really well for that fortune trait. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll all be pretty beefy. I'm a Nunu main, so I'm looking forward to what type of ability they give Nunu. Hopefully, maybe rolling snowballs. Probably not though. What do you think about Legionnaires?
So Legionnaires they gain bonus attack speed and their first attack after casting a spell heals them for 50% of the damage dealt. So it looks like these are very consistent units with a lot of sustain. They obviously have to cast your abilities to get the sustain. It's like Slayers, but without the bonus damage. But they do gain bonus attack speed, so that's different. I items, so they could cast like such things like QSS, maybe GAs, so they get their sustain off. It's a new concept, but I think it's very important to have a mix of damage and defensive items on them. And yeah, I look forward to them.
I think the one thing I'm looking out for is the Draven. Everyone talks about becoming a Draven one trick, but one must really truly master the Legionnaire trait to understand Draven. I think after every spinning axe, he'll get this bonus 50% damage. So later on, we'll talk about how we can truly maximize uh, Draven spinning axe, and I hope you look forward to it in the future. Um, but for now, we'll talk about the renewers. So Lysandra, Heimer, Ivern, Soraka, and Vladimir. Renewers heal 4% of their maximum health each second. If they're full health, they restore mana instead. The TLDR is basically their celestials for themselves turned to ocean mages. Um, the tip is that sustain is the name of the game, and Cotton, they all look like they're range champion. Do you want to touch upon that?
Yeah, so they're all range champion. Well, it looks like it. Uh, it looks like they don't have really a frontline unit for renewers if you want to run all of them. It looks like they're just very sustain heavy. They probably have not much CC, but in long fights, they'll definitely benefit your team. I don't think they have a consistent damage dealer either for now. Maybe Heimer will be the damage dealer. We're not sure yet. But other than that, I don't think you run. I don't think this is a comp that you run as like. I guess if anyone remembers the Manor Battery persona, like something like that, where you just run a bunch of bunch of sustain and a bunch of spam units to abilities. We're not sure if that's like what they want, but it looks very consistent in any comp that you want to put in, and look forward to it.
For sure.
So here we have Invokers. All allies get increased mana per basic attack. It's like Enlighten before the entire team, and just very good units to put in for mana relying comps. The units being Teemo, Ivern, Syndra, Karma. This will fit well with Legionnaires because they rely on casting their abilities for sustain. So fitting these in with Legionnaires would be very good. There's not much more else to say, but they look like good support units.
Yeah, for sure. The one that stands out to me is not the double Teemo that may cost our HP, but rather this Ivern, who is also not only a Revenant, but also a renewer from the last class we just talked about. Really makes and how we can fully utilize this 4 cost tree, man. Looking forward to what he brings to the table. So now we have knights. Taric, the 4 cost, Thresh, Nautilus, the 2 cost, Leona, and Poppy, the 1 cost. All allies block a flat amount of damage from all sources. So the TLDR is they are Tom Kench, or crystals, or knights, if you know knights from before. Some tips are you want to have a strong backline, or else your team will do negative damage. So similar to Tom Kench, but as a class, what do you think of these knights?
Well, Knights are back from previous sets. They're very strong, as in they block a percentage of damage now compared to just having straight up armor. I think this is very important in the long term of things because you could use them to late game when you need to hit certain 2 costs. It gives you time. It gives you time because they don't necessarily scale off just raw stats, but they block a lot of damage, and that's important to have because when people played in set 4, everyone mechanic to just hit their 2-star epic and just play around that, right? But now we need more time to hit these units. We're not just gonna get 3 of the same unit one shot now, and this is why Knights. I think this is why they brought it back. That's for sure. My tips for this, is to have a really strong backline, or else your team will do negative damage. Yeah, that's true. But basically, you'll probably take out these units out, except for Taric. I think Taric will be the main initial knight that you want in your team always. But Poppy and Nautilus are certainly units that are probably going to be really strong early game.
True.
So Spellweavers. Spellweavers have increased ability power and get bonus ability power anytime a champion uses an ability, stack it up to 10 times. They're like the auto for mages, and just like Aso from set 4, it needs time to pop off. So here we have Spellweavers, the Spellweavers being Brand, Syra, Ziggs, Victor, Belkaz. One thing about Spellweavers is that it looks like they have scaling AP, so it's not like you need necessarily a bunch of AP on them. Obviously, it'll help to increase their maximum burst potential or just raw power in general. One important thing to note is that, like, unlike set 4, where tiers were completely useless in mages, it looks like tiers will have some type of value here, and I look forward to that because tier being a dead item just feels really bad to have. And at least there's one comp that you can use now, which are Spellweavers. It looks like they'll also benefit like from just any tier item in general. So yeah.
I think combined with the Coven traits, these Spellweavers will have the potential to glass cannon a lot of comps, especially with the Ironclad and the Knights. They won't be taking any physical damage, rather they'll be taking the burst of a 10 stacked Spellweaver. So looking forward to 4 cost Vel'Koz blasting away Knights off the fields and off the arenas. Skirmishers. So skirmishers gain a shield at the start of combat and gain attack damage each second. So the TLDR is they're exiles, they're Elderwoods for AD, and then they become duelists later on. So skirmishers are really important in long fight metas, and after um, long fights, usually you want to include a lot of sustain items from set 4, similar to like Bloodthirster, Hodge, or Hextech. So skirmishers include Nidalee, Udyr, Trundle, Pantheon, Kennen, Jax, Lee Sin, and the 5 cost Viego. What do you think, Cotton?
So yeah, for skirmishers, other than just sustain items, I think attack speed items would be really good on these units. They already have the scaling AD, so why not give them the scaling attack speed, such as Ginsu's. I think skirmishers are going to be really consistent. A lot of them have really strong traits like Viego, Lee Sin. But it just comes to show like well, we'll see in the long term things how strong exactly they are. We know for sure. Well, I'm pretty sure Viego's gonna be really strong. Just skirmisher and assassin, and assassin scales really well into the fight. If that guy has all the time in the world, he's just gonna pop off and destroy your team, especially with the right items. And look forward to complaining about stuff. Hi, yay!
I mean, we
I'm
don't
kidding.
even we don't even know what Viego's ability does. We just know that he gets to the back and he gets work done. Like, who knows, including his ults, what a monster he can become. Uh, Mystics.
Mystics are well, basically, Mystic from every set. Our allies gain magic resist. There's a lot of magic damage. It's Mystics. It looks like there's a lot of. I think Mystic this set might not have a lot of value, but look at the units. I think they all have very high impact. So Mystic will probably be something you put in just for the units. So there's just a lot of AD comps. There's a lot of like sustain burst comps. Maybe Mystic could have some value in the long run. Obviously, Mystic always does have, but like in set 4, like Mystic is a trait that you probably don't even look forward to putting because you just didn't need it. So the Mystic champions are Kindred, Lux, Morgana, Lulu, and Rice.
I think one thing we need to notice is our 5 cost ranger Kindred is a mystic. So it looks like Riot's really putting an effort to try and include mystics in ranger comps with a strong front line. It doesn't look like a lot of these mystics have a frontline beef tank similar to set 4 like Shen. So it looks like we're gonna have to depend on a lot of those ironclads or the knights or the cavaliers to be really hold it frontline wise, right? Yeah, so looking forward to that. Cavaliers. So Cavaliers have an innate passive in which Cavaliers charge quickly towards their target whenever they move, and Cavaliers take reduced damage at the start of combat and after charging. This effect doubles for 4 seconds. We have Sejuani, Dark Rider Sejuani, Rel, Hecarim, and Kled. Rel being the 4 cost, the rest 2 cost, 2 cost, and 1 cost for Kled. The TLDR is this is a new concept. it's a charging mechanic, and it's very similar to Berserks, where at the beginning of the fight they have a special effect, but here they get a lot of reduced damage. So that's very interesting to see. Maybe there will be a mechanic or way to to stall the beginning of the fights, so we can burst down the Cavaliers later on. So I think they're really good tanks, but will often leave your backline not protected, as they'll probably be charging towards whatever's in their face first. What do you think is significant about Cavaliers, Cotton?
So if you're looking to get the fight over with, if you're looking for a strong initiation, a very good surprise your opponents. Probably really good early game and mid game. Cavalier is the way to go. I think there's too much to say in this set. I think this is what the set actually needed. A type of way to just push that advantage while everyone's trying to sustain. You just punish them. Obviously, the weaknesses are assassins, especially if you have backline with Cavaliers. Maybe having backline with Cavaliers is not a good thing, and having like Nightbringers or Dawnbringers or stuff like melee assassins will be really good with them. Combination of Cavaliers and assassins sounds really strong. It seems really interesting to play around because you not only have to position your backline but also your front line strategically. And yeah, sounds very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Whoa.
Oh, here we have Cruel. Cruel champions are purchased with Little Legend's health instead of gold. Never underestimate the hunger of a Cruel champion in 1v1 combat. So the TLDR for this is that it will cost HP to buy. We'll have some type of combat mechanism and keep them safe till the end. Cruel, I have a lot to talk about. This thing might be a bounty nightmare. It could be really strong. If it's really strong, people are going to play a lot for HP really early. It will determine the meta of the game. Like if it's really good late game, so look out for aggressive metas in the early game. A lot of top 4 plays basically, just so you get a Cruel champion and then that'll be your late game. If not, if the champion's really weak, if Cruel is really weak, if Teemo's really weak, then we might even ignore this trait in general because it might not be worth it just for your HP, which HP values a lot late game. It costs a lot of placements. But it's definitely a very interesting mechanic. It's very risky. I like that type of playstyle. Maybe it could be a first rate type of trait. But yeah, what do you think, John?
I think that this Teemo is a Helion, and since the Helions all have very low cost units, maybe Riot's intention is to make him like a good late game carry for the Helion comp to fall back on. I think Teemo with the 1v1 potential maybe can scale. Maybe Devil Teemo consumes the enemy and takes his stats for the rest of the game. Who knows? One thing I'm also wondering is maybe it'll cost HP to keep not only buy the Teemo, but to keep the Teemo on your team. That will definitely change the dynamic of buying a Teemo. Maybe we can use him for a turn, and maybe it's a difference between winning a fight and losing a fight. I definitely think Teemo is going to be a very interesting character and champion to play, especially in the late game as a 5 cost. But one more interesting trait we have is the God King. We have if you have exactly one God King, they deal 30% damage to enemies who have at least one of their rival traits. The rival traits are below in the points, and the TLDR is Garen or Darius are kind of like the chosen mechanic. You only can have one of them, or Ninja, where if you have both of them on the field, they both lose their ability, and similar to Lux from previous sets. So the tip is that we have for you is use this as early as you can, as it seems like their ability is very strong against certain comps, and adapt to your lobby's relative comps. If it's possible, maybe hold both God Kings. Why not? And sweat each matchup individually based on their rival traits. Cotton, Darius, or Garen, what do you think about them?
Well, the God King is back, baby. If you weren't scared against going against Darius and dunking your whole team on the Rift, well, get ready because he's here for TFT, bro. I want this champion to be broken. Well, I don't want Garen to be broken because honestly, Darius is way cooler. But yeah, I think Darius obviously is going to be very entitled to Nightbringers, and Garen obviously a Dawnbringers. Maybe the flexibility isn't there because I think your comp needs to revolve around them, but definitely very interesting. I hope this champion looks just as good as he does on the Rift. I can't wait to use him as my carry.
Yeah, hopefully they don't end up just being a cosmetic. But these are the 5 costs and the main idea around this set. So we look forward to seeing what type of potential these God Kings have. Last but not least, we got Caretakers.
Caretakers deploy with a baby dragon that can be placed anywhere on the battlefield. Baby dragons gain 100% of their handler's attack speed and restore 50 mana to your caretakers upon death. So the caretaker being Heimerdinger, we all know that he spawns baby dragons such as Asir turrets on anywhere on the map, except they give mana to Heimer, and they also do damage, which is new. You can use this strategically as peel. You can use this as offensively to maybe burst the front line. We're not sure yet what Heimer's ultimate does, but I think it's a very good unit to have. Asir had very good recognition set 4, and everyone loved him. I think he's the most balanced unit in set 4, and it's just good to have an Asir-like unit for set 5.
Yeah, for sure. Heimer is definitely going to be the unit to look for and test out, to limit test how we can maximize Heimerdinger. And that's all we have for classes today. After learning all about these origins and classes, you must be curious on how to put together a real team based on their origins and classes. In the next video, I'll be theory crafting with a bunch of other high challengers and masters people to see what comps will dominate early sets and what comps are the secret Hopi. Cotton, anything you want to say about this sets before we take off?
All right, so this set looks very interesting. I think the long drawn-out fights are very good for the game because you have to observe the fights very carefully to see what you need to adjust in your comp, what items you need to prioritize. I think there's going to be very good. There's not going to be a lot of bouncy nightmares. Looking at the units, looking at the traits. I look forward to it a lot, competitively wise, and just as a casual. So yeah, thanks, John, for having me.
Thank you, Cotton, for coming on. Bye bye.